that's why I don't like people labeling my work at all. Like they could just say, oh, you know, that's a Castañeda. That's it. You know, you have to see it for yourself. Your art will not amount to anything because as soon as gallery owners see that it's graffiti based, they will turn away. They'll basically not, which is somewhat true. I mean, you see people trying to categorize me as like, oh, you know, you're a graffiti writer, graffiti artist. And I try to say, well, yeah, but I mean, I could call you then a Crayola paper guy because that's where you started. You know, it's like everyone starts somewhere. I just started doing that. I don't take offense to it, to the words that are coming out of their mouths because that's the way they're describing me, and sometimes they just don't know how. I like that. I appreciate that because that's their perspective. But in another sense, if they just say, well, that's Bobby Castañeda, he's a painter, you know, then they could leave the book open for someone too. In my mind, I see, you know, someone looking at street art and going, wow, that's wonderful street art. And then also I see that same person looking at something that I would consider street art, and they say, wow, that's some really good graffiti. Gangsters everywhere. And there's gang writing everywhere. It draws battle lines. It tells you that this area belongs to a certain group of people, and if you decide you want to come into this area and act a fool, you'll be dealt with accordingly, you know? And I always thought that that was like so primitive. I think the biggest way of me figuring out what I am as like a Mexican artist was leaving, going 3,000 miles away. Because I was like, I am that land. That's where my peoples roamed for a while. So that whole SB 1070 thing had like, it was like a firecracker to me. I was like, for real? You're gonna tell me that all of us here are null and void, that we don't matter. The batteries of the economy need to go. So this is Shifty, right? And he's got like these wings and this crown. And it's supposed to like, Dia de los Muertos, you know, that whole thing. It's the Dia de los Muertos skull, but it's not, it doesn't have the lower jaw. It's just my own thing. You can climb on a billboard, you can go on the freeway, you know, overpasses, do whatever, you know, and you're just putting up, all you're doing is really spreading pigment. Either, you know, it's a can of spray paint or a marker, and it is vandalism, you are destroying things, but in a sense it's like, it's like the voice of the gutter. Scribble it, whatever you're doing, once you put it up there, you've basically put it on the wall, and if someone wants to put something else, you left it open for that. That's one of the rules, you know. It's like, it's not a fucking rule book or something, but I mean that's just what it is. That's like you put it out there, you've left it out there. So when someone gets offended that a mural gets painted over or defaced, whatever, they shouldn't really care, because this art that gets done, especially the illegal, you know, the illegal street stuff, that's like prayers, like, you know how the Hindus make the sand art, or is it the Buddhists? They make these sand, like, delicate ass,
I think it's the Buddhists.
it's the Buddhists, right? They make these like really delicate lines and everything just to be stepped on afterwards. It's like, it's so,
It's like Japanese gardens and stuff.
yeah, the stone gardens, or when I hear they do this in like Ecuador, is they put shavings, colored shavings on the ground, and then they have like a big dance over it.
Oh, that's awesome.
To like, okay, so let me explain what this guy is. So this guy's supposed to be a representation. His name is Shifty, and he always says something, so he's gonna say, right, so it's like, so I mean, when you read it, you would be like, oh, you know, what's that say? Just a bunch of letters. But if you actually sit there and read it, it actually says something. So then this little cat, you know, he's got his crown because he's obviously a king. He sometimes will say shit that I couldn't say, but, you know, it's there, like, saying it over and over. He represents me in the sense that he's got my busted my wing, whatever, because I got my shoulder separated by a sheriff's department officer. So I have like this gnarly scar right here. So that represents me. That's the representation of me. It's my culture. And the wings is like, the Rolling Stones have this lyric that says, every sinner is a saint. in one of their songs. And this is the closest I could come up to something that's every king, you know, still does his, because he's always saying whatever I wouldn't say. And then one of my friends called him Shifty because he always looks like he's looking around a corner. And I was like, whatever, it'll work. So now this is Shifty. And I've after writing for so many, you know, so many names and memorizing them, I have now basically memorized him. So I could paint him or draw him anywhere with anything. It's so it's temporary. All the art. I mean, I don't know why this didn't come to me earlier, but I'm like, all this art that I'm producing, whatever, it has to be, like, I have to give it away. I have to keep creating, give it away, sell it, move it, whatever. It has to just not be around me because I'm gonna keep creating. And I don't want that to influence what I'm doing next. Like, oh shit, he's the guy that does that. No, I'm the guy that does it how I want. You know, I watercolor. I mean, I do. When people ask me, "Oh, what's your medium? You know, what do you do? What's your thing?" I'm like, "Oh, anything I can get my hands on." You know, I mean, I paint with spray paint, markers, oils, acrylics, watercolor, graphite, anything. Just basically, I've painted with soy sauce. Sometimes when you do like the graffiti, the tag, just the tag to like, I've been here, it's so illegible to people that they don't absorb it. They just see it as, oh, it's nasty graffiti.
Right.
But when you do something that you take like so much time, put intricate detail into it, there's a bum somewhere right now in an alley walking, and that spot that I hit up or somebody else did something on, it could, you know, it could like lighten up their mood even. Because I mean, I go out there and I put like, now my new thing is like text coding. Instead of writing it out, like for someone to just be like, oh, that says this, that says that. I break it up into block form, so you have to sit there and actually decipher it. And it's all positive messages, like, you know, you are the light. No, this day will pass. Tomorrow you are champion. You know, today you are victor. Things of that nature. It's not even an aggressive nature anymore with me. It's more dharma, if that makes any sense. They think that this is an aggression thing. Like they think that that's being so destructive that you have to be corrected in your mentality. And I don't see it as, I see it as like love. I seriously do. Like when I see a wall that's just there and it's like, oh, and it's not harming anyone, especially if it's like an alley or utility box or something that's just so plain, and you add to it to make it less boring. In New York, there is not a piece of New York that has not been tagged. Like, you know, and you look at it and it's just like layers of not even just graffiti, of history. I've seen what there is, you know, and that stuff has to be here. And even if the community or the media or local people don't accept it because they're like, oh, you know, you're just doing this, you're doing that, it's like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing, I will continue to do it. I hope not to get in trouble for it, but I mean, let's say I get in trouble for art, it's like martyrdom almost. I don't own like a fucking certain territory, or I'm not doing any of that. I'm not out there in the streets. I'm just saying I'm out there. I'm not, you know, if someone wants to diss on me, let them do it all day. You know, let them scratch it out, spray it out, you know, call police, whatever they need to do, because they're just hating. I can't, you know, I can't stand for that, so I started writing all over the place, you know, resist SB 1070, you know, and I was like, and then I thought about it that night that I wrote on dude's mural. I was like, dun, 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 you know, bam. Didn't put resist on it, I just said, you know, SB 1070, and I put a line to it. That was it. The plainest, most simplest way to do it, if you're not going to flip the image upside down on its head, which nobody would be able to read it because there's a lot of numbers, right? So it's like SB 1070 and a line going through it. Plain and simple. That's how gangs say that's not a good thing, we'll cross it out. One simple line through text. Do it. Say it. You know, nowadays it's say and be positive, but my art, my graffiti, if you want to call it that, I guess the difference between street art and graffiti is a degree, right? Instead of them saying, wow, that's some dope art, period, it's got to describe it in the street, and it's either graffiti or it's street art. See? It can't just be art. because they found it on the streets. And the difference between them saying, oh, that's dope street art or that's graffiti, is there in their mentality, the person, the more enlightened artist, is out there producing street art. The less enlightened or educated the artist, the more graffiti he's producing. They're artists in their own right. Then they go out there and some of them have, you know, anarchist messages behind them. And others have like this whole, you know, it's me against the world. But then you have to figure out, where did that person come from to think these things, you know? This is me, I exist, I need to be seen and heard.
I was out to bomb like Vietnam, but in this rhyme I'm the prime suspect. Handcuffed for stuff that I ain't hit yet. It seems the neighborhood block watch got open like a box top. Wanted they props and called up the cops. My mama Dukes is in the kitchen flipping, tripping cause spray caps was missing and I left without permission. I got bagged with the darkest black marker I had. An easy target cause my tag is on my book bag. As I was shadowed, they must have heard the back rattle. Tipped the cops off and ran up before I popped the top off. Got interrogated by crews I never heard of. Got my face wrote on and treated like I did a murder. Heard of sermons on property value in city workshops. Slapped with a fine, now with my record there's a new notch. The misdemeanor cats are coming back at you for the long ride as we return to the wrong side.
Out to burn, racking paints by the stacks to provide tracks as we return to the wrong side. Art programs and more hip-hop jams must arise as we return to the wrong side. More better styles and whack writers step aside. Aerosol ride as we return to the wrong side. Newark, New Jersey, Brick City we reside. Big up to BS as we return to the wrong side. Once more we have in store graffiti folklore. In depth to score points with this joint for all